Finally at the climax versus Quinella. So many people dropping like flies. Come on, best buddy Eugeo. So what's up guys, Foxen here. Oh my god, Eugeo and Cardinal. Let the pain and suffering begin. And maybe, just maybe, I'll become Mr. Popular today. Cause I got some mixed feelings on some of the stuff this episode. By the way, do be sure to like and subscribe for juicy SAO videos from a huge SAO fan. You also help other SAO fans find these videos. So let's get started. Cardinal versus Quinella. Let the trash talking begin. So you got Quinella talking down to Cardinal, I guess in more ways than one. And by the way, looking absolutely divine. But of course, Quinella was really just playing with her meal, in hopes of baiting Cardinal to come out of the hole. But oh no, Quinella suddenly sealed this whole area into the Shadow Realm. I mean, she was definitely prepared, she couldn't let little Cardinal escape again. And oh look, who made a return? The Sword Titan. I've actually seen a good chunk of you mention being disappointed about the Sword Titan and being overpowered, but quickly taken out by Cardinal. Well, the golden killing machine wasn't out just yet. Cardinal really only got the Sword Titan a little toasted. Anyway, getting into the harsh truth about the Sword Titan that came out. This whole thing really just boils down to being another one of Quinella's lovely experiments. To give Quinella more credit, Cardinal and Kirito really underestimated her. Naturally, Quinella would have been aware about the incoming Dark Territory invasion. I mean, it'd be weird if Quinella was clueless about that. So forget about all the Integrity Knights. All of those things have thoughts and feelings, sometimes they even rebel against you. Looking at you, Alice. Why not just make the perfect killing machine that doesn't disobey? So yes, it turns out this Sword Titan is pretty much just transmuted bunch of human Floodlights. And then Quinella really just wanted to multiply this effect. Let's just go ahead and wipe out half of the human empire to make these things. What the hell, half? Did Quinella get freaking inspired by Thanos? By the way, really quickly, once again, I am loving the ceiling art. Finally got a shot of the bow-wielding goddess. Looks like she's a little cold. Anyway, getting into the deeper reveals about the Sword Titan. Yes, unfortunately this thing was given life by using the memory fragments of the Integrity Knights. Which really just means those Integrity Knights were really just a stepping stone. Recall that the memory frags were all from the Knight's loved one. I mean, just listening to Quinella brag about how this, pretty much puppet, was just moving on instinct trying to reach out to his loved ones. This whole thing made me feel super disgusted with her. And I actually applaud that. All of this really comes down to what I mentioned in my past videos, about Quinella seeing human love as a weakness and fully trying to use and take advantage of that. As Quinella put it, this love emotion is really just a means of controlling others. This right here really seems like it speaks volumes about Quinella. I think even Eugeo asked like an episode or two ago if she wasn't loved as a child. Or who knows, perhaps Quinella grew up normally, but then lost any human connections when she found out this whole underworld was some type of simulation. As for Cardinal was hesitating to take out the Golden Titan. To be honest, I was more than a little surprised at this. Was this just some super attachment to humans coming from the original girl? Or was it more so something Cardinal developed over the centuries? Think of it as Cardinal being this counter opposite to Quinella's mindset. And let me just mention in the novel, they did specifically mention that Cardinal was deeply against murdering. In this case, that did include the Golden Titan that was made from all the human Floodlights. Although to counter that, the novel also goes into detail that Cardinal would be able to bypass that if she truly wanted to. So unfortunately for this, it seems like there's at least a few problems with the whole situation. All these human Floodlights have already been fused into the Sword Titan or sword material. I guess later on Cardinal would be able to undo it, maybe with a little bit of time. Although maybe it's not too difficult since she did fuse Eugeo a little bit later. Then, just assuming Cardinal wouldn't be able to do anything about those lost people. If you don't stop this goddess right here, she's about to do the same to half of the human empire. Do you really want to hesitate now? I mean, if you really don't want to destroy the Sword Titan, freaking restrict it somehow while you take out Quinella. It seems like the biggest reason for Cardinal hesitating in the first place was the additional possibility of also losing the trio behind her, Kirito, Eugeo, and Alice. Which brings up the next thing, you then have Cardinal's little deal, her life in exchange for Kirito, Alice, and Eugeo being let go. To be honest, in hindsight, this does seem like a very god-awful decision on her part. The one thing I did like from this was Cardinal getting Quinella to swear on her own Floodlight, that being really the only thing precious to Quinella at this point. Although, for this, I do have to question it further. I really don't see any reason why Quinella would be so trustful, and then hold up her end of the deal when Cardinal got vaporized. Not shocked one bit at all that she wanted to play with her food. Naturally, I knew the Cardinal Loli dying was coming up this episode. Although, that really didn't make it any less painful to watch. Freaking Quinella just using that black lightning spam. She is totally on the dark side. And god, the added touch with the foot remaining there. For a split second, it almost seemed like Cardinal withstood that assault, then it pulled back. So yes, the Cardinal lolly got super barbecued. I do have to give the SAO studio huge props for this whole Cardinal scene, right down to her getting charged up. Next up, Eugeo's super weird fetish request, or should I say final wish, wanting Cardinal to do some human transmutation with him and his blue rose sword. By the way, very nice of Quinella to give these guys some time to actually catch their breath and say their goodbyes. For this, I'll really just mention that in the anime, they actually cut out the line from Quinella, where she specifies that she'll give them some time to say their goodbyes. Anyway, back to Eugeo, once again uttering the words remove core protection, this time actually by his own choice. For the whole light show visuals, very nice touch was Eugeo combining with the young Alice fragment. Then interesting choice with that cross symbolism. So what would win? An ultra-powered blue rose sword plus release recollection, or the sword titan, that should be several times as powerful. But you know what happened, freaking awesome, Eugeo this time was the one doing the penetrating, although pretty fair since that thing had this weak spot at the center point. And then finally getting to Cardinal's real last moment, just disappearing into the light. God damn it, she got dusted. Interesting parallel with her championing Kirito now on, when in the past, Cardinal was a part of the system that Kirito was desperately fighting against back in SAO. Now for the Eugeo Blade mode versus the Quinella Nudist mode. Honestly, I love seeing this fake goddess taking some bloody damage. Unfortunately, this day extracted a heavy toll. What did it cost? An all-powerful loli, the young Alice, and best buddy Eugeo. God damn it, blonde boy Eugeo got split down the middle. And notice right here, they were definitely doing some clever censoring with that stone there, which I bet will be removed on the Blu-ray. But then further, damn it, even the actual blue rose sword got shattered. For this, let me actually quickly clarify something about Eugeo. Everyone seems to have already counted Eugeo out, but he's actually still alive. The only person truly taken out this episode was poor Cardinal. Then, I do have to mention something about the whole Eugeo blade scene. I don't know, I think right now I'm not too much of a fan of the whole sword scene sequence. And I definitely want to know your thoughts down below. I mean, how I pictured it was Eugeo doing the whole sword combo thing, then instantly launching straight at the sword titan. Then later, a straight stab at Quinella. The anime did do that. You just had a little bit more flying action with the actual wings. I don't know, maybe it's something I'll get used to it with time. As for Quinella, just a little wet. It is but a flesh wound. To be honest, for this, I was surprised Quinella really just didn't heal herself. Why not do it? Then I expected her to try reattaching her arm back. But even that didn't happen, she instead switched that into a weapon. Come on Quinella, you're just like your knights, super extremely overconfident. Anyway, now you actually have the final fight with Quinella at the beginning. Once again, you have Kirito feeling super down, temporarily being in this broken down state. This right here instantly reminded me of the time that Asuna got killed back in SAO while fighting Kayaba. Of course, this was made even more obvious with Alice stepping in to take the hit. Which is kind of why I wish they didn't splice in that old footage in. But hey, they actually been kind of avoiding SAO callbacks, so I'll take it. Minor nitpick. Either way, once again, you have the Black Swordsman rising. Final episode next week, Quinella vs Kirito. And let me just say, do not expect anything like the opening. Although I do say that as kind of a big statement, it's been a while since I read it, so I don't recall the exact details. So overall for the events for this episode, you have one Cardinal going down. I think this episode really reminded me of also not being too much of a fan of the stuff from the SAO light novels, some of the stuff that happened here. It really seemed like Cardinal was really too quick to give in. It really felt like, oh okay, so you got this all-powerful Quinella equivalent. They now need a way to take her out or remove her completely. That way, the battle could shift over to Eugeo, Alice, and Kirito. Maybe that's why I really think this whole switching over to give Eugeo the big moment could have been done differently and more effectively. And don't get me wrong, right now it's not the biggest issue in the world for me, but it does feel bigger than a simple nitpick about the whole situation. Which is why I'm definitely curious. How do you feel about Cardinal's choice? Was she barbecued way too easily? Either way, I am about to rewatch SAO Alicization this week. I do need something to watch anyway on my flight over to Japan. Next up, let's go into the light novel changes going into the anime, some highlights. So, perhaps sounding like a broken record, but very nice adaptation. Just some details and thoughts cut out for the anime. First off, something about the Sword Titan. Not mentioned in the anime was how this monster had this auto-healing ability. Most likely this healing ability was granted by the release recollection. Next up, some info about the Integrity Knight memory fragments. I feel like it was hammered a lot more in the novel, how these memory fragments now exist as a separate being from the original user. For example, the blonde eyeless fragment pretty much being that young blonde girl from a decade back. Next up, some Kirito thoughts cut out. As Kirito was watching Cardinal being hit by the thunder dark attacks, Kirito thought about that slash from the Golden Titan not too long ago. He could still feel the blade tearing deep into his stomach area. Kirito felt like he was branded with this image of being defeated. This really only helped to bring out Kirito's fear, something that perhaps would prevent him from calling forth the Black Swordsman persona. In his current state, Kirito felt he wouldn't stand any chance versus any Integrity Knight. Next up, some Eugeo thoughts cut out specifically about his final goal. Eugeo was convinced that all of this had been his fault, since Eugeo was the one that wanted to go out and rescue Alice. He really only felt worse by the fact that he previously had fallen to Quinella's seduction. You did hear that line about him feeling powerless. Eugeo thought about even if Quinella actually kept her promise to let them go, Quinella would definitely split them all in different faraway locations. In the worst case, Eugeo may never see Kirito again or ever return to the Roulette village. As for Eugeo combining with the sword, Eugeo probably got this idea by recalling the Blue Rose Sword's memory, which was how the Blue Rose Sword originally was a combination of the rose and ice on top of the mountain top. Next up, Eugeo Cross Mode. The only thing I'll quickly mention was how the anime actually kept Eugeo's clothing. In the SAO light novel, Eugeo got fully stripped at this fusion moment. I guess they really only wanted one sword to shine here. Next up, young Alice's memory. So you had Eugeo fusing with her memory fragment to make this powerful winged blade. Why didn't Quinella create a blade from Alice's fragment? Not mentioned in the anime was how young Alice's memory fragment had this vast amount of love sealed within the fragment. Young Alice wasn't limited to deeply loving only one person. Instead, Alice loved Eugeo, Selka, her parents, and everyone in the village. Quinella just wasn't able to create a weapon to match that link. At least not yet. Anyway, more important now, let me hear from you. Question of the day. Anyone else feeling down about what happened to Cardinal and Eugeo this episode? And besides the aftermath, how do you feel about the whole Eugeo and Cardinal events that took place this episode? Are you ready for the mid-season finale next week? Any predictions? Post down below. If you're anime only, you'll definitely be surprised at the cliffhanger. Anyway, be sure to smash that thumbs up and subscribe. So when is Asuna coming into SAO Alicization? Find out right now, new video on that. Also, could SAO Season 3 shut down hardcore SAO haters? A bit of a controversial video you could check out on that spicy topic. Be sure to hit bell notifications and I'll see you guys later.